Hello and welcome back. We are here for the second round of this league with Elves. So we have won the die roll. We're going to be on the play. You know, pretty standard stuff here. This hand doesn't have anything before turn 3. We're going to go ahead and throw it back as a result. If this hand had Dork, it would be perfect. Honestly, Reclamation Sage looking like it might be biting us a bit more than it's helping us so far. Our sample size is a little small, but this is the type of thing that I try to remember when playtesting a deck. Whenever your flex slots come up a bunch, try to remember how they're good, if they're bad, if they're not bad. You know, just that kind of stuff. We'll go on and go to 6, though. And this hand is another one that doesn't really function. All of these cards effectively cost 4. At least for, it's going to take 4 resources for a Court of Calling. They might be creatures, they might be lands, but we're going to need 4 things for them to work. So us having this many 4 resource requiring payoff cards is kind of redundant in a negative way, and we're going to go to 5 as a result. Let's see what it is our opponent does. Can't really mulligan before they do. Gotta wait to see what they're going to do here. If this were a Dork, and this were not a fetch land, then this is really tempting to keep. Big reason being, say this were a Razor Verge Thicket. We could Thicket, Dork, and then if one of the top 2 cards of our decks, we have our Scry and our turn 2 draw step to try to find a land. If we found a land, we could go turn 1 Dork, turn 2 Archdruid, and then the world's kind of our oyster. But this hand is not that, so we're going to go lower. And this hand looks great. We'll keep this one. There's that Reclamation Sage again. We're just going to bottom it because we kind of want something more powerful at this point. We can turn these Horizon Canopies into real cards if we end up just getting mana flooded here, which it's looking like we might. But if this is burned, then our Archdruid's probably going to die. Yeah. Rift Bolt is not really something I want to just jam Elvish Archdruid into. I think we might be supposed to anyway, though. So here's my thought process. We can play a Canopy, attack for 1, and pass. And then our Llanowar Elves gets bolted. They do something, and then we cast an Elvish Archdruid on turn 3. And they still just get chances to kill the Archdruid. We're not really changing whether or not the Archdruid dies. We're just changing how many resources we have to Court of Calling with. And I don't think they're going to just kill our Llanowar Elves. So I would rather go ahead and have a line of play that involves us keeping more resources instead of fewer resources. We're going to feel really silly about bottoming that Reclamation Sage if they play an Eidolon of the Great Revel this turn. Burn is traditionally a good matchup for Elves, just because we can go pretty over the top of them pretty quickly. They usually can either kill us or kill our creatures, and not both. Oof, that was pretty gross. So it's hard for them to kill us while also applying pressure, whereas all of our cards tend to be proactive. I don't think I want to cash in a Horizon Canopy here. That might be a little short-sighted, but we don't really, if we draw multiple things that cost 2 or more, or if we draw a Collected Company or something, we're going to feel real dumb for sacrificing this Canopy, so we're just not going to. Alright, what you doing, opponent? I said, hey, what's going on? Helix target. Oof, our Dork. Jeez. They just want us to have no resources. Alright, well. It kind of stinks. We don't really want to pay a bunch of life, but the alternative is not casting spells, so we're, gonna do what we gotta do. I think our best draw here would be like a Dwynen's Elite, assuming our Archdruid lives. It won't, but... Ugh. They've just had to kill all our creatures draw. This is starting to get pretty ridiculous. Not to say that they don't have a bunch of cards that do that, but if they just drew, like, say, a bunch of Boros Charms and Lava Spikes, or flooded a bit more, or drew more creatures, there's a lot of draws they have that don't just go kill a creature, kill a creature, kill a creature, kill a creature. These are the ones that we tend to suffer a bit more. So if they have a burn spell, if they have a Boros Charm, we're just dead to another spell. I think we're... I don't think they would just chump attack here. But they turn off our lands if they have a Boros Charm anyway. They didn't have a removal spell. Well, we know they at least have some amount of spells in their hand because they didn't cast any last turn. I think we just have to no blocks here. Red. Skullcrack, sure. Alright, well, I don't know what draw we have, but hopefully it is this one. Eternal Witness is not going to do it. I guess we aren't literally dead on the table. But I guess a Nettle Sentinel would be a really good draw here. I don't really know if we can afford to crack our canopy, though. Oh, there's that Dwynen's Elite I was talking about. Alright, well, hopefully the cards in their hand are actually just awful. Alright, that's a start. We kind of needed that to happen. Alright. We have died. Alright, well, we have some good things coming in post-board. I'm going to cut the Reclamation Sage. We are bringing in Selfless Spirit, Scavenging Ooze, Burrington Forge Tinder. Maybe we're supposed to leave in, like, one, or have, like, one Reclamation Sage, because I know some of these are having Shrine of Burning Rage as well, which is not awful. We'll see what we're looking at cutting. I don't think we have time for Elvish Visionary. It just costs, like, so Elvish Visionary is better in the slower grindy matchups, but these games tend to be more condensed, so I think we're going to want to leave it in the board here. Same with Eternal Witness. I just don't think it's very, I don't know, I think the applications for Eternal Witness are more in the grindy matchups. Like there, we drew an Eternal Witness, and we basically just didn't get to draw a card that turn. So unless we're collected companying, I don't think Eternal Witness is very good, and we're bringing in creatures that are better to company into. I'd rather hit a Forge Tender off of a company than an Eternal Witness, for example. Last cut. I don't really want to cut any of our combo pieces, because I feel like that's a great way to just cheese a win out, especially on the play. Maybe Elvish Archdruid isn't very good. That seems a little odd. Maybe a Heritage Druid. Yeah, I don't love Heritage Druid because they're going to be picking off some of our creatures anyway, so something that requires us to have 3 is just not great. 3 elves specifically. We'll try this out and see how it goes. I would love to play first. Thank you. We're going to throw this hand back. It doesn't have a 1-drop Dork, and both of our lands are Horizon Canopies. Alright, this hand's pretty good. So we're going to lead on the Nettle Sentinel into Dwynen's Elite, because that gives us some pressure starting off. If they kill our Nettle Sentinel, then we can just play Devoted Druid instead of the Dwynen's Elite. We'll keep. If this is a good scry, that is a fine scry. I don't love it though. I think I'd rather dig for other cards, companies, chords, stuff like that. Maybe we're supposed to be keeping it. We don't really, without a Druid, we don't really have the 3rd land though. So I'm gonna put that on the bottom. We could Cavern Wizard here, so we just have a fetchless mana base. or a shockless mana base with Windswept Heath. I don't think that's going to be quite as good, just because then if we draw Selfless Spirit or Vizier of Remedies, we look really dumb. We could just get a Temple Garden here, but because we know our bottom card is an Elvish Archdruid we don't want to draw, we're going to lead on Cavern of Souls here, because that is one more draw step that the Elvish Archdruid is exactly the bottom card of our deck, so it lowers the odds that we draw an Elvish Archdruid. I would like to put Elf. There we go. Knew it was there somewhere. Another nice thing against burn decks is if you scry, I guess this is super incidental, but if you kind of need a land, I err towards trying to want to put a land on top of the deck, either by scrying to leave it, or by scrying away a spell that you're not quite sure about, because they have a goblin. If they have a Goblin Guide draw, you're more likely to just draw a free card that way. It's not something that I use to entirely influence the scry decision after mulling, but if it's a hand where you like this, where we don't really need it to, but we wouldn't hate it because we have a third land, but we have a lot of good 3s in our deck. That's a case where I'm not looking to keep a 3-drop on top, especially because there's a chance that they just have said Goblin Guide and put the 3rd land in our hand. Alright, opponent, what you got? Suspend the Rift Bolt. Alright, we are definitely Dwynen's leading this turn. So we don't need to actually get a Plains anymore, so we're not going to. We're going to attack first. One, just because it's the correct thing to do in most cases. But in this case in particular, because it lets us untap our Dwynen's Elite post-combat. So we will play our Heath, get a basic forest. Technically, we probably should have spent green off the cavern there, but this is just a little bit faster. Goodbye, Nettle Sentinel. See, and this is kind of the thing that I was talking about, where now they have one. We both have one less resource, but ours are repeatable sources of damage and theirs are not. That's relevant. Hopefully we can invalidate it a little bit, but let's go ahead and play this. I'm going to go ahead and play our Forge Tender here. Alright, so they're F6'd. It didn't matter that we played the Forge Tender pre-combat in case they had something that dealt damage to attacking creatures. And here I actually want to cast Llanowar Elves, just because I want to be able to keep attacking them. We could have cast the Devoted Druid, but our big mana spells are turned off by Grafdigger's Cage. And on top of that, this doesn't attack, and even if we draw the infinite mana spell, we don't really need to worry about it. Or don't need to worry about it. Excuse me, infinite mana doesn't really benefit us. I think we're okay with that. Yeah, I'd rather just have a Forge Tender than a Llanowar Elf here. I think it's just kind of redundant and we don't need it. Either way, it's kind of a 1-1. This one just has a more relevant text box. Alright, so let us attack for 4. We will play this. And I'm going to Cavern Cleric, because that is both Selfless Spirit and Vizier of Remedies, and now we can crack our Horizon Canopy. They have drawn a few lands this game. Let's see what this gives us before we make a decision. We kind of need to have pressure on the table, so if we brick here, we probably save our Dwynen's Elite. Yeah, I'm going to save our Dwynen's Elite, even if it looks kind of bad. You just hope they don't have a sweeper, I guess. But we need to actually work on killing them, because we're bricking. Our best cards are not very good, because of Grafdigger's Cage, and their hand kind of stinks right now. So I think we just need to do whatever we can to capitalize on that. I think having 3 power is just so much better than having 2 power. If they fetch, this is a 3-turn clock. Otherwise, it is a 4-turn clock, and the alternative is having a 5-turn clock. Trying to think if we want to play this druid. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 8, so an Azuri is lethal if we play this. They didn't play a sweeper last turn, so I just don't think they have one. If they do, we get got, but I don't think there's much of a reason to play around it here. I guess they could have a 3-mana one, which would look really bad for us. Goblin Guide is fine. I don't think they're attacking. Yeah. Trying to turn it into a removal spell for Dwynen's Elite. Ah, yes, perfect. Alright, so we will go ahead and oblige, I think? It feels kind of bad, but if we draw an Azuri, this is lethal anyway, because we have infinite mana with the 2 Devoted Druids. So with Arch Druids, they don't die, though. Yeah, so we have 4 cards in our deck where keeping Dwynen's Elite is better. I think otherwise, though, because we have so many 1/1s, that it's better to go ahead and just get the 2/2 off the table. We're not attacking with our Elf Warrior, because they probably just go to 5, eat the Elf Warrior, and then we just don't have an Elf. Yeah, we have the Reclamation Sage in our deck. I was just double checking. We don't have a way to search for it, though. Max punished. That's fine, though. Hopefully this thing lives. No, it will not. Oh, or it will, and they're F6'd. Even better. Perfect. Alright, cool. Alright, going to game 3. All the marbles right here, right now. So I definitely like having the Rec Sage. I don't think we change anything else. Nettle Sentinel was an all-star. Yeah, everything else just seems super mediocre. We can maybe justify cutting one of these because they cost 1,000,000 mana and being on the draw makes them worse. We could try that. I don't... If we know they have a cage especially, I think I like cutting it. And Cord lets us hit more specific threats. But it costs more than a company does, effectively. So I think we'll just cut a Cord here. It might be incorrect because we can just tap anything for it. But I think if we're on the draw, we're going to be a bit more choked on. Not necessarily choked on resources, but choked on resources that are on the table. So that way it's harder for us to actually Cord for a munch. Well, this hand's great. No, them having a turn 1 creature is like one of the biggest problems in this matchup. No Searing Blaze. Did they mulligan? They must have. No, we're in their upkeep. They have a stop in their upkeep. Okay. No Searing Blaze. Alright, they have a Searing Blaze. Yep. Awkwardly enough, I think they're supposed to attack there. And then do it after blocks, because there's a chance we go to chump block, and in my opinion, they're super okay with that. Alright, well, we have 2 2-drops we can play, and this one lets us win the game next turn if they just play, like, you know, a couple burn spells to the face or something, so we're gonna go for it. Works or it doesn't. The way I see it, it has a 50-50 shot. Just like Boros Charm, Lava Spike, attack for 3. Do it. Alright, step 1. That is an irrelevant spell. Now Boros Charm us. Target us. Tilt. We will put 2/1 counters on our druid. That way they do not gain the life. Alright, well, we got that land. I don't think it's going to matter, but it might. So I think it's more important to just develop 2 creatures here than play 1 creature. So we will Cavern Elf, Nettle Sentinel, and Vizier of Remedies. I think we just really need to be blocking here. Assuming that we can. Why would they fetch pre-combat? Or are they F6'd? No, they're not F6'd. If they have a removal spell and we double block, we just get destroyed. We could double block Goblin Guide. We could also just single block Goblin Guide and take this, and then play Azuri. And then have regen mana up. That kind of requires them to fade a couple turns, or us to fade a couple turns on their side. That's like a lot risky. That is a lot risky. I think we might just have to do that, though. I think we're going to have to take the Swift Spear this turn and just try to trade the Vizier for the Goblin Guide. If they just have, like, Bolt, Boros Charm, we're dead. Skullcrack. Okay. Well, I guess they saw the Kithkin. Oh, 2 Skullcracks. Well, that is some math that is very good for them. Oh, alright. Well, we lose. We did our best. Okay. Well, make sure and stick around for the 3rd game. Hopefully we get some good luck this game 3 and can rally it back. See you on a second.